baby, I'm trying to get away. Trying to lock in the guap, trying to block all the pain. I'm a blonde little boss, I'm on top of the game. I've been plotting the lockdown, tossing your bait. Yeah, my pops got caught, didn't lock them away. My mom fought hard, 5 jobs in a day. I'll be dropping the box, and I'm copping the pain. We out for the stars of a tropical place. Ooh, yeah, I'm spitting it heavy, the mission is steady. Your bitch is a jelly, I'm ditching the petty. You're digging for pennies, I'm itching and ready. I open my heart when I listen to Shedeur. I'm bold like a boss, and I'm little like Debbie. I know it's your boss, I got richer than Getty. I'm holding the guap and I'm whipping the Yeti, yeah, Kari can play with advanced moves. I'm fucking my girl and her man too. I'm taking the ball like the ran do. My soul is the one that I can't lose. I soak up the sun like a sand dune. I'm holding up love with the bamboo. I'm rolling the blunt by the candle. Taking the game, running it back without taking a drink. Yeah, I'm the one and I'm making a wave. Rolling the blunt and I'm blazing a J. I'm escaping the brain, go straight for the cake. I'ma take to the bank, not taking a break. I'm made for the race, I pray for the day. I wake with a bake in a great estate.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay, that's Maddie, and we are going to talk about round 1 of the NFL draft.
Yeah, welcome in, guys, to our reaction to round 1 of the NFL draft here ahead of the second round of the NFL draft. And let's face it, everybody's fan base is on a high right now. This is the time of year where you can get hopeful about every single one of your draft picks, especially in the first round. I'm obviously a pessimistic Dallas Cowboys fan. Yeah, I guess there's a couple that are a bit skeptical, but you can see the thought process behind them all.
Yeah, and what blows me away, though, if you think about the Lions, is the Lions literally decided to go, let's draft a guy who is at 28, who is literally by Daniel Jeremiah, a 3rd-round draft pick.
I don't know. I like Mekhi Williams. He would have been taken by somebody else before the Lions picked again. The Cowboys, I would have been happy for the Cowboys to take him in the second round.
I disagree.
I think he would have been taken.
He's got off the field issues. He's got off the field issues. He's a guy that didn't produce like you'd want him to in college. They look at him, he's an underwear warrior. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure he would have went.
Yeah, I was listening to Sam Motson and Steve Palazzolo about this actually today. And they were so they were saying they had a good point on this, where it's like there's these guys who everybody says is meant to be like great defensive linemen. So Shamar Stewart is one of these as well. But if you take the Moneyball philosophy of like, if they're meant to be so good, why aren't they good? Is basically the question of these kind of guys. However, there is often times where even if you don't make it in college, the production does get better in the NFL because of the players around you. So if you're on the Detroit Lions, for example, you're not getting double teamed the whole time because they have like Aiden Hutchinson on the edge. I'm surprised that the Detroit Lions didn't take an edge in the spot that they were drafting, but they clearly like the guy. And it's that kind of thing where everybody is so, like, you never know. Like, first round draft picks is so much all about evaluation. I do think, however, it was one of the strange picks of the draft. I'm surprised they didn't go edge. I'm surprised they didn't go for, say, Davon Azarike, like that, Donovan Azarike. That would have been a great fit for them. So I'm surprised he didn't go in the first round.
Oh, how about somebody in the secondary, since your secondary looks shit compared to last year? And the funny thing is there's now rumors that they're trying to move on from Jameson Williams. And it sounds like somebody's Cowboys are interested, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, Will Johnson is there as well. Would have made a lot of sense for the Lions. Obviously, Will Johnson seems to have injury issues off the field. Like, I'm incredibly surprised he's out of the first round. He's not been taken in the first round as well. But we'll get all onto that. Jay, we're going to start at the beginning with Cam Ward, and I feel like in all the speculation we had, and everybody's kind of talking speculation at the point of draft talks that we got in at. Now the speculation is over. We can actually talk about the fact that Cam Ward is a Tennessee Titan. And and we'll have a little chat about him because I feel like nobody was speaking about him because we all knew he was going to the Tennessee Titans. But Jay, how will Cam Ward's skill set translate to the NFL?
I think his skill set will transfer to the NFL, but I don't know if he's going to be any good because of where he landed. Like we've talked about this before, it's really important to land in the right spot. Some people think Tennessee have a lot more talent than I think they have. I look at their roster. I don't see like a ton of talent. I think you're putting a young kid in a bad position. I also think he was highly overdrafted. I know, okay, and if you think he's the best quarterback in the draft, fine, I get that. I didn't think he was the best quarterback in the draft, but I'm not the one picking. And I've always said, if you believe he's your guy, you go get him. So I'm not going to crush them for that. I just kind of wonder if Cam Ward's in a place to succeed. That's where my thought process comes in. But we'll see. We'll see. I think they've made nothing but bad moves since they got rid of Vrabel. So, like, I mean, if you could go back, we can go back. You Derrick Henry, Vrabel. Like, I'm just like, go back to the A.J. Brown trade. I mean, that's where it started for them, right? Bad decision after bad decision. You bring in Will Levis, who I'm not sure you even gave him an honest chance to be the team starter. So we'll see what they do with Will Levis, because you almost have to trade him now for practically nothing, because do you want your new guy to come in, throw 2 interceptions, and then all of a sudden fucking the crowd's chanting for fucking Will? How wild would that be? Will Levis getting chanted, right? But Will Levis is exciting and fun to watch. And here's something to keep your eye on. If it's a low enough draft pick, maybe the Vikings grab him for their backup.
Yeah, so I think for Cam Ward going to the Tennessee Titans, the Titans have kind of attacked getting a few weapons in free agency. Obviously, Calvin Ridley's already there. They've picked up Van Jefferson. They picked up Tyler Lockett.
Sorry to cut you off, but my question is Calvin Ridley good, or is that just a name now? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, but I do think they've attacked the wide receiver position with what they've got. Like, there are technically weapons there. Tyler Lockett, I think, is a great pickup for them.
Yes.
Experienced wide receiver, probably a bit over the hill now, but down the field threat, which is where Cam Ward kind of strives as well. Like, Cam Ward's big ability is his arm, like the zip that he's got in his arm. He has way more zip in his arm compared to any other quarterback in this draft, I would say. He has a much more lively arm. And they've kind of attacked the offensive line as well. They've put Dan Moore Jr. at left tackle, which gives them the ability to put J.C. Latham back at right tackle because he didn't look great at left tackle. Peter Skoronski is one of the better left guards in the NFL. They've also got Kevin Zeitler to play a right guard as well. So they have tried to fill those holes. Whether they do fill those holes is so difficult to say with free agents. Obviously, they do they have a pick in the second round here? I don't think they do. Do they? Sorry, everyone.
They traded it for somebody. Now that you say that, I can't remember.
Yeah, I think the Browns or the Bears or someone. But
the Browns.
So the Titans.
And the Browns.
Yeah, sorry, the Titans. Yeah, the Titans have a pick at 3. So they swapped. So they swapped places. For Brian Burns, they've traded their pick to the Browns, but then they've got a pick back from the Giants for Brian Burns as well. So they do have a pick at 3rd in the draft as well. Yeah, thanks. I'm pretty happy with that one. But they do have a pick at 3rd in the draft as well, which gives them the ability to go after kind of, I don't know, the wide receiver group. The wide receiver group kind of goes a bit down here, but Jaden Higgins here, Trey Harris. Luther Burden III becomes an interesting guy there, really highly ranked by PFF, ranked at 15th in the whole class by PFF, but other draft boards aren't liking him either. So Cam Ward, I think, translates to the NFL in terms of his skill set, but I agree with you, the Titans still need to attack loads of different spots What I do worry about Cam Ward is the decision making. How much of an upgrade? The things that you don't like about Will Levis are surely the same things that you don't like about Cam Ward, is what I've seen coming out of college.
Yeah, but okay, in fairness, Cam Ward is a way more superior athlete than.
Okay.
And don't get me wrong, if he doesn't succeed, I don't think it's on him. I think it's on the Titans, right? That's kind of my look at it. And we can argue my love or hate for PFF because I go back and forth sometimes because I don't hate their idea of grading players. I just think that they missed the boat on some players because you don't know who is supposed to run what route and what. But last year for college football, I mean, PFF has him at a 92.9 grade. I mean, how fucking ridiculously good is 92.9? I don't care if it's in college or not, right? I would also say that Will Levis's decision making is closer to Carson Wentz, where I don't feel like Cam Ward goes, that guy's got 4 dudes on him. Let me just launch him the ball. Like, so I think when Cam Ward does it, he's in trouble and makes a bad decision. And I think that's completely different than Will Levis or Carson Wentz, who goes, fuck it, I'm going to Brett Favre this ball and see what happens, right? Like, I think there's a kind of a difference, but I get what you're saying, decision-making. Also, I think he did a lot with a kind of I don't want to call Miami shitty, but they weren't great. They weren't fucking great. And talent all around. I mean, we're not seeing a ton of, hurricanes in the draft or whatever.
Very few.
So I think he did a lot with very little. And I always said to you when we were doing the pre-draft shows, I think his ceiling is higher than Shedeur's.
Yes.
But will he get there? We'll get to it, but Jackson Dart fucked me up more. And I knew it was coming, and it still fucked me up more than the Cam Ward. But we'll get to that. I don't mind that the Titans took him there. Like I said, as quarterback, you overdraft. If you like it, you go get your guy.
Yeah.
But I still think, like, could you have traded back to 5 with Jacksonville and still got Cam Ward? Maybe. But you're risking it. I've been hearing that on the internet all day. They should have traded back, right? And it's like, okay, let's say they do that. And then the Browns go, fuck, Cam Ward's there. Let me take Cam Ward. Or the Giants go.
The Giants.
Yeah.
If Cam Ward's there.
Yeah. Or or somebody in the back, like the Saints go, I got to get up to number 2 because the Browns want to move out. So I'm not necessarily thinking that the internet always grasps that other people, and I always hear this, and I want to put this out there for people because I hear this all day. Every team thinks they should have traded back, okay? You have to have somebody who wants to trade up with you.
Exactly. Like if Jacksonville are getting offered to this amount to go up to 2, they only needed to be at 2 because the Tennessee Titans weren't taking Travis Hunter. They only needed to be at 2. The only people who would have needed to be at 1 would have been people taking Cam Ward or wanting to jump for Travis Hunter. That would be so. As soon as the Browns made it known they were willing to trade out of 2 and give up Travis Hunter.
Schrager said they knew this for about 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, exactly. And unless you knew, as soon as you knew that the Browns were ready to trade out of 2 and give up Travis Hunter, then that was it. And the Giants are there anyway. The Giants would have taken Cam Ward, I imagine. Like maybe they've fallen in love with Jackson Dart so much and they've put in so much work on Abdul Carter. Like the combo of Abdul Carter and Jackson Dart, I think, is a good thing to come away with for the New York Giants. So yeah, the Titans kind of had to pick Cam Ward. And I think with NFL drafting, and you've said this quite a lot, Shedeur Sanders is kind of good at everything, right? But isn't the best at anything. And in the first round of the NFL draft, it now looks like everybody is drafting on upside. So everybody is saying you are drafting on upside on the first round. You're going, if my quarterback isn't Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or one of those guys, and I've drafted them in the first round, that's a failure. And you'll take anybody who's going to be, like, I think Shedeur Sanders is going to be a decent quarterback in the NFL. Anybody who's decent and you know is probably going to be decent, you don't draft them in the first round, is what it looks like.
I have this weird theory that, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, guys. So when this comes out, it's going to sound wild, but I am not one of these guys who thinks the NFL is rigged. I really believe we landed on the moon. Like, we don't have to go. Birds are real. That's the one that fucks me up. You guys, birds are real. Okay. Like,
my favorite conspiracy theory, Jay, is that Finland doesn't exist. It's just fishing water for the Japanese. Like, the Japanese have created the idea of Finland, and it's actually just an ocean that they all fish in.
Now I'm going to be in a rabbit hole later this week because of Maddie.
So good.
But I have this conspiracy theory that I think the NFL teams may have done a little like colluding, because I think so they might have been like, Dion's going to be a problem, and let's humble a kid that doesn't need to be humbled. I am so sick of people saying he needs. And then all these things are coming out on the internet that Shedeur said this. And then I Google it. And it's like, no, he didn't. Stop lying about this fucking kid. It is so bad, the shit they are putting out there that he said. Like, they are really trying to tear this kid down because the greatness of his father, which blows me away, because we've talked about people hate greatness. Look at Tom Brady, gets all this fucking hate, and he's like one of the best dudes on the fucking planet. Plus, he was great. Like, can we fucking stop?
It's all this grievance shit that everybody's just dealing with now. It's like everybody's a fucking victim. It's like, guys, people can be successful. That's totally fucking fine, you know? Like, that's okay. Not everyone is out to get you.
I think if it works out this way, I think the perfect thing just happened to Shedeur, and I'll tell you why. No matter you wanted to go earlier, there is a handful of coaches in this league that will be great for you, and Kevin Stefanski is one of them. And the owner literally took the bullet, and we know Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry have a job for a minute, because the owner's like, I fucked this whole thing up with Deshaun Watson. It is not on them. Like, I love that the owner did that. Like, we can bash the Browns owner, Haslam, for a ton of things, but I give him credit for owning it and not using them as a scapegoat, knowing you got a good GM and a good coach. And Stefanski did great with fucking Joe Flacco. Like, and they just added a monster on defense to go with Myles Garrett, right? And so, like, I think you're in a really good spot with Kevin Stefanski if you're Shedeur and you actually go with this next pick. I think it might have worked out better than them taking you at 2, because now there's a ton less pressure too.
Yeah, and for me, the Browns, see, with the colluding, I do think it was. See, I personally thought it was a ploy to get Shedeur Sanders to fall, releasing all of this stuff, trying to go. I thought it was a fall to like
20,
the Saints at 9
21.
until I realized that the Saints just don't seem to really want one of those quarterbacks. They'll probably be quite pissed off that Jackson Dart's been taken by the Giants. I thought it was the Steelers. Like, as it was falling, I was like, it's the Steelers at 20. Like, isn't it? Like, it's the Steelers. It's got to be the Steelers. That makes the most sense. Like, as he was falling, I was like, cool, he's falling to the Steelers. This is the guy. And that didn't happen. They obviously didn't take him as well. And as soon as he didn't pass the Steelers, I was kind of like, I don't think anyone's trading back in, because the Browns know they can just get him at the top of the 2 and just leave it for him.
I thought the Giants were coming up for him, and then all of a sudden Peter Schrager goes, I'll tell you right now, it's a quarterback, but it's not Shedeur. And I was like, oh, shit. And then I thought to myself, are they going to go? Did they watch the show? I'm just kidding. And they're going to go with Kyle McCord. Like, I'm like, are they going to shock the fucking world right here and go with? But I actually think that he might end up with the Saints. Maybe that's the guy the Saints were targeting the whole time, and they're going to grab him. Maybe we're going to see something wild this year and see more second-round quarterbacks than we've seen in the last 20 years.
Well, I think that really makes sense with this class, right? Like, when you watch the class for me, this draft is going to be won in the 2nd and the 3rd round. That's where this draft is won, because there were only 6 blue chip players, and they went in the first 6 picks. That they were the 6 blue chip players. Now they went, basically everybody had those 6 players leaving in that order, just a couple of different teams switching around, and we'll get to Jacksonville in a second. But for me, I do think that this quarterback class does make a lot of sense in the second round of the draft. When you do think, if I'm taking a first round flyer on a quarterback, I want that crazy upside. I don't think Shedeur has that crazy upside. I just think Shedeur's already good. Like, I think Shedeur Sanders might be the most NFL ready QB to go in. And if you give him a decent O-line, he's already going to improve exponentially from where he did in college, because he didn't play with an O-line in college. He hasn't had an O-line yet. He had a bad O-line. Shedeur Sanders didn't have an O-line. Colorado, there won't be a single NFL player coming from the Colorado offensive line. Not a single one of them will make it.
For at least
and they were
3
playing
years.
Yeah, exactly. And they were playing against some pretty tough competition. Like, they went up against pretty good teams as well. So Shedeur Sanders gets immediately improved by having a decent O-line. And for me, it just makes loads of sense for the Browns to take him at the top of the 1, especially because the Browns have now the 4th overall pick the 4th pick in the second round as well.
Also, you and I talked about this last night, moving on to the second pick, right? Being at that Travis Hunter trade up by Jacksonville. I loved it on the sense that, so for the Browns, I loved it for both, but for the Browns, you gave up so much to get Deshaun Watson, and then he crushed your salary cap too, like making it almost impossible to replenish because you gave up all the draft picks too. And now with their Myles Garrett and Deshaun Watson contract, you need cheap talent for a couple years, for at least 2 years. And now you're stocking up on draft picks. If Andrew Berry hits these next 2 drafts, like, you just recovered from one of the worst things faster than any of us thought you were gonna. I know you gave up maybe a generational talent to go back a little bit, but to pick up those pieces to fix that, like, to help your salary cap. And I think that was great for the Browns because they got a first for next year. You can load up for a quarterback. If you don't take Shedeur at 2, if you take Shedeur at 2, then it don't matter. But you can load up for a quarterback next year. But I was kind of shocked, man. I told you, I kept reading. The Jags want an offensive weapon. The Jags want an offensive weapon. And everybody else.
Everyone thought Genty. Everyone went Genty.
And then but you hear a lot of talking heads clap back like, they need to go defense. They need to go defense. And the Jags were like, hold my beer. We're going to do both. We're going to do both with one pick.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
I loved it. I loved it for Mr. Duval to get his first pick to be I did that to a couple Duval Jags fans at the draft yesterday, and I didn't go Duval. I went Duval, and they looked at me and just smiled and shook their head because they knew exactly what I was doing. But it was crazy trade. It was a crazy fucking trade that I think was great.
Yeah, I think it's one of those trades that makes sense for both teams. I think with Cleveland trading back, I think, do you know what? Like, Barry, the GM, hasn't put a single foot wrong as the GM of the Cleveland Browns. Like, the Myles Garrett contract is pretty nasty, right?
I feel like that was Jimmy Haslam too, though. I feel like that was the owner going, keep this motherfucker, right? No matter what.
Yeah, maybe. But they haven't put a single foot wrong, really, because they built a great roster that was just a couple of players away. If they didn't trade Baker Mayfield away after that injury, if Baker didn't play hurt, if he was still there, what would that roster look like? Because they had Jarvis Landry, who was still playing decent football and has only just fallen off the cliff now. They still had Myles Garrett. They had Zadarius Smith.
Amari Cooper.
Like, they had that roster, and then all of a sudden, because not only did that trade fuck their cap, because everybody talks about cap, right? It also completely fucked their draft. Like they ran out of picks. This is the first draft where they've got picks now since Deshaun Watson was there, and they can now start to rebuild that roster again. And I think they made the perfect moves. Travis Hunter for the Cleveland Browns, I don't think makes a huge difference for them. Travis Hunter is going to be a generational talent, but they have nothing. Like, the only reason now, the only way it would have been good is if they knew they were going to get Shedeur at the top of the second, and then they could have had Travis Hunter and Shedeur, which would have been pretty good, right?
But to prove your point, quick, the Giants drafted Neighbors last year, who is a fucking amazing receiver. Did not change life in New York.
Yes, is yet to change life. Although I do like what the Giants are doing, and we'll talk about the Giants.
Right. But you got, but you're right though. For right now,
exactly,
one player is not going to change life. Where these draft picks and another first next year is where it's big. That's
exactly. They've now got two. They now get 2 players to pick, and you can also say, well, Travis Hunter makes up 2 players because he plays 2 positions. It's like, I get it. I get what you're saying, but also Mason Graham is amazing. Like the other part of that is Mason Graham for me. Not enough people talked about the Mason Graham Abdul Carter debate. Like, I don't think it was mentioned enough. Now, Abdul Carter is better than Mason Graham, but only just. Like, in my opinion, like Mason Graham, I think is amazing and is going to, and with him and Myles Garrett, that is incredible. And you got another 2nd round pick, and you get another 1st round pick next season. It's the perfect move for the Browns.
Also, what we talked about, yes, you could have got a blue chip, but this draft is a lot deeper than people think because it's not the blue chips. But so do I think Abdul Carter is a better athlete? Yes. I kind of think D tackle, when you can disrupt shit, might be a little more important than an edge. So you could argue that.
5 D tackles in the first round of the draft. 5 D tackles.
I think where Abdul Carter gets a push above everybody else, and we don't know this for sure, but with his skill set, there is belief with some he could be better than Micah Parsons, which is insane to even think. If he even is a hair worse than Micah Parsons, you got a monster, right? And if you're looking at a guy who's potentially the same or better than this amazing fucking player, you got to take that chance, right? If there's even a chance that he's somewhere in the same breath as Micah Parsons, you got to take a chance.
And also for the Giants already have Dexter Lawrence anyway, so it makes
loads
of
sense. I love me some sexy Dexy.
Like their defensive line is now legit.
Yeah, I had a Giants fan so excited telling me about Burns and sexy Dexy and Abdul Carter yesterday. He was
Kalen
smiling
Thibodeau,
from ear to ear, Maddie. You would have been sick because he was a Giants fan. He was so happy.
Yeah. Their D line is nasty, but yeah. But let's talk about Jacksonville just for a second here. We're at the point now where Trevor Lawrence is kind of close to having to prove it here now, and the general dysfunction of Jacksonville and all of that, like the fan that you were speaking to before the draft obviously shows the general hatred of the dysfunction that is in Jacksonville and all of those kind of things. Guys, I really recommend going and watching that video. That's on our
if you
YouTube
missed that
channel.
clip, it's there. Go watch it.
Obviously, it just adds to our further being banned for children on YouTube and all of that kind of stuff. So go watch that. It's good fun. But now in Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence has the 2 best wide receivers in the 2 consecutive draft classes on the field. Now, I think that Malik Neighbors is going to be better than Brian Thomas Jr. I think Marvin Harris Jr. possibly will be better, but Brian Thomas Jr. last season was the best rookie wide receiver in the NFL.
And I didn't see it coming. That's why I don't know, because I don't think we saw that coming. Remember when I forget what we call the segment, but when we gave our best rookies every week.
Yeah.
That kid I picked 2 or 3 times and could have picked him 12.
Yeah, we spoke a lot on the rookie roundup about Brian Thompson Jr. And then you have Travis Hunter on the other side of that, and that's a great spot for Travis Hunter because it means that he doesn't need to be the number 1 wide receiver, which probably allows him to go play nickel cornerback as well, or can play outside cornerback when they go to nickel. He doesn't have to be the nickel, but what I mean is he won't be on the field for every single formation set. On defense, it does sound like Jacksonville are going to put him on the offensive side of the ball as well. But what's interesting about Travis Hunter is if they end up in a situation next year where they can get another great wide receiver in the draft, they can take that wide receiver in the draft and they can move Travis Hunter to cornerback for his second for his second season in the NFL, which becomes super interesting.
Or if you
Too.
get another corner, you can just keep him at receiver. Also,
Yeah.
do you think as Travis Hunter, when he saw that trade from Jacksonville and he was like, holy fuck, would I rather live in Florida
Yeah.
than Cleveland? Like,
Well, he's from Florida. He's from
right.
Florida.
That's what I'm saying. You think
Yeah.
he was like, who I would rather live in Florida than Cleveland? Like, he was probably not looking to those Cleveland winters at all.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's landed in a great situation there. And to be honest, Jacksonville have had stars. Jacksonville does seem to produce stars. They just don't seem to produce like the substance to go for a full run. But you think like Jalen Ramsey as well, like came out of Jacksonville. Obviously it means Travis Hunter gets 2 trips to London every year as well. It's exciting.
Well, that's actually super exciting for the London fans, though, because you haven't had much to go watch. And now they're like, at least they get to go see Travis Hunter. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because when Trevor Lawrence got drafted, it was like sick. We get to go see Trevor Lawrence and stuff like that as well. So yeah, I think great trade for Jacksonville. I think the other great thing for Jacksonville here is they didn't have a lot of time to implement the scouting the way that they want to do scouting, and the easiest player to just pick who's the most obviously gifted player is Travis Hunter there. So if there was a team that could go fuck them picks more than others, Jacksonville is probably one of them. Those clubs with new head coaches, new GMs, combos, probably better to trade up actually and go get the blue chip guys in this draft as well. So great trade. Also made it super fun to go second in the NFL. So exciting to watch Jacksonville as well this year. That's going to be good to see. Right. We've already spoken about Shedeur kind of falling out of round 1. Jay, who are your top 3 winners of round 1? We're only going to talk about the winners of round 1 because it becomes really difficult to talk about the losers of round 1 because none of these guys have played it down in the NFL yet. But there are some teams that have done more than others to kind of show off their skill in drafting. Who are your top 3 winners in round 1?
So I definitely think the Chicago Bears were definitely a winner in round 1 because I do truly believe that Loveland is a blue chip player. I think he was one of the best players in this draft. I think he was top 5 or 6 player in this draft, and you get to pick him up at 10 and you give fucking a really big catch radius to Caleb Williams. You give a guy who runs great routes. He's, got good speed. And then I think the fucking Falcons were winners in this draft just because you said, fuck it, we need your edge, and we're going to get 2 of them. We're going to go get 2 edge players, and we're going to do that. And because it is the most, like you really understand that it's the most Ravens pick ever. So the Ravens are a big, huge winner in my belief too, because you turned around and you went and got the most Ravens fucking safety you could have in Starks. The only thing is I really thought he was going to fall to the Eagles because wouldn't it be the most Eagles play to have an athlete from Georgia like that fall to them? But I think that was the most Ravens pick. I think that was great for the Ravens. And the reason Atlanta is a winner, I do think you may have overpaid to come back up. I get that. But you recognized your biggest weakness was edge. And right away in the beginning, you go and grab your first edge player. And I'm like, oh, okay. Atlanta really understands what's going on. They understand the assignment, and they go get Jalen Walker from Georgia. He's got natural athleticism off the ball. He's a great edge rusher. He's very versatile. I really like what they picked up in him. And then you turn around and you trade back up, which I believe with the Rams, and you go get James Pierce Jr. And this kid is out of this world, athletically talented. And if he didn't have some minor off the field weird shit, I think he would have been a top 10, 15 pick also. but I don't think his off the field shit is the shit that you worry about too much. But I did find it weird. This is the statement I found weird. We truly believe that he will thrive in a Raheem Morris culture. Not sure what kind of culture Raheem Morris set over there last year. And they made some weird decisions, and their Kirk Cousins shit is very weird right now. So their culture statement is
Also,
kind of weird to me. But I think they knew
also
the
fucking
assignment.
Atlanta. It's like
Right.
Atlanta, man. Like, yeah, let's take a kid who has trouble focusing and put him in the city of Atlanta. That's sure.
But I think they knew the assignment.
Nobody ever goes off the rails in Atlanta.
But I think they knew the assignment and they get an A+ for executing on the test, right? Like, I think they,
Yeah,
they
100%.
realized what their weaknesses were, and they do have a lot of good skilled players. They started to fix the problems with their offensive line last year because it was coaching and scheme, not really the players. So they fixed that around.
Yeah.
They got Michael Penix, they think is the future. So I was like, oh, they need, because you have talked about it a million times how their pass rush was. It's not that they had no pass rush last year. It was really like they felt like they didn't even walk out a defensive line.
It's like they didn't even try. Like,
Yeah, like it was non-existent.
Yeah, that for me, they had the worst pass rush in the NFL. A lot of people say Arizona had the worst pass rush in the NFL. For me, it was Atlanta. Every time I watched Atlanta, and the reason that I think it was Atlanta is they, time after time, had the option to not have a shit pass rush. Like, they've needed to attack the pass rush draft after draft after draft. And it's not like, because they took, Michael Penix looks like he was the right guy to take, and it was just paying Kirk Cousins that was wrong. It was like, yeah, but they also didn't fix it in the second round, the third round, the fourth round. Like, you know what I mean? So for me, I had Atlanta as my winner of the draft as well. I love it when teams identify, and obviously Jacksonville and the Browns, two big winners as well that we've already spoken about. We're kind of talking, they're pretty easy ones,
Right.
like the Giants as well, taking Abdul Carter. It's okay, that's yeah, obviously.
I mean, we knew the Raiders were going to take Ashton Genty for 2 weeks. This wasn't a fucking shock to anybody. We knew exactly what a lot of these teams.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew what the Patriots were going to do.
So when we're talking about wins, it's like
Yeah.
teams that we didn't really know what they were
And
going to do.
I actually think we could, if we were talking losers, I would have put the Patriots up there, but that's a whole nother conversation.
I think that's a post. You need to define a loser. You need to see the whole picture.
I just mean first round pick. I think they kind of hit the bed, but whatever.
I think with Atlanta, I identified them as one of my top 3 winners as well. I think the other great thing about this is Jalen Walker is that guy which I was speaking about after hearing Chris Sims say it. I don't want to hear about how great a guy's character is when I'm first drafting them. But Jalen Walker is that guy. James Pierce is then the opposite of that. They've basically then taken the two opposites and they've just said, right, like, we know that one of these guys is probably going to work out and we'll just attack it and we'll see what happens.
I feel again like his is young, teenage immaturity.
Kyler Murray shit. Like,
I was going to say Jameis Winston shit from college.
Yeah.
Like, Jameis Winston got beat up for the crab legs, which the owner used to give them for free. So he got caught up just because the owner wasn't there, right? So that was a bad thing. And then, yes, the idiot jumped thing that was happening back then was to get in a crowded place and just yell Bucker right in the pussy. I have no idea why that became a thing. That is the funniest shit in the world to me. But I'm not mad at it.
It was the news reporter.
There was
one news reporter, and that guy just for some reason just like got on, and then
because
obviously
that's right.
I was at university when that was the thing, so obviously I fucking did it as well, you know.
Okay, so like I feel like that's the kind of shit we're talking about more as immature, dumb shit than it is like, oh, he was in the street doing like, bad shit, or he was robbing people.
Green. Like whoever picks Mike Green up, because somebody has to take a punt on Mike Green, and knowing me, it'll be the Cowboys, right? But if you take a punt on Mike Green, like that is fucking brave, like because domestic abuse charges or whatever, he's sexual assault charges and stuff like that. That's off the field issues. Being a bit lazy is something that can sort itself out in the NFL, in my opinion. And when James Pierce has that level of production, fine. Like, be lazy, but bring that shit. Like, you know, like, not everybody has to live for football. Like, I thought the NFL had started to go away from that, you know, like, where it's like, oh yeah, I eat, drink, sleep, football. It's like, no, like, if you're just good at your job, you can just be good at your job.
I think they're going back that way again because they're seeing NIL money make guys complacent, right? And they want guys who love football. But I think that's going to happen no matter what. Like, they're going to get the NFL and get complacent. Like, there's people that are just going to do that. You get your first huge contract, and then you don't play as Albert Hainsworth. Like, amazing year, gets paid $100 million, and then we never hear about him again. Like, you know what I mean? That kind of shit. But I don't know. I just like the fact that Atlanta said, we got a need. We're going to go fix this fucking need. And we're going to do everything we can to win. Because like we said, their offense, good. Now, fix that defense, and maybe you have a really real shot at winning that division, because it's not going to be the toughest division in football. I mean, the Bucks are your real challenge, and then depending what Carolina does. But I just like the Bucks are your real challenge, because I think New Orleans is so fucking dysfunctional that because of their cap problem, their ownership sucks. But I want to see what Kellen does.
Like, I want to see what Kellen does. Their team doesn't have the talent yet either, and they don't have the draft picks to fix it, and they don't have the cap to fix it. Like, the Saints should be the worst team in the NFL this year. Like, realistically, they probably should be the worst team in the NFL, and no one should hate Kellen Moore for it. So you have the Panthers, had an interesting draft selection, Tater McMillan. That's more interesting for me. I'm like, okay. Big body guy for Bryce Young, short cornerback, gets big body wide receiver. That makes a lot of sense to me. How good is Tater McMillan? We'll find out at the top level. And then the Bucks, who did the Bucks take? The Bucks take Emeka Ibuka, which, okay, Chris Godwin leaving. Doesn't have the high upside of a lot of the other wide receivers that have come out from Ohio State.
Yeah, but Chris Godwin stayed, remember?
Yeah, so Chris Godwin stayed. Mike Evans is there, and you have Emeka Ibuka, and you have Williams. Is it? Okay. Wilson, whoever that wide receiver is.
Okay, here's the thing. This is what I think, but who knows? We'll find out. Right position, wrong player. So I think he should have been Golden. I think he was the best wide receiver.
Yeah, you like Golden.
Sick that the Packers fucking got him. But I'm not going to be mad at you because we differ on people. I think where it becomes the right decision is Mike Evans is old. Godwin does get hurt. Baker Mayfield made chicken salad out of chicken shit with some hurt people last year. You give him some real talent. I like what they've been doing. I think their problem of getting over the hump is I don't think you're getting there with Todd Bowles.
Yeah, and I think they get injured a lot of the time. So the NFC South becomes super interesting with what they've got going on. So I think Atlanta, really, I think that is a big step forward for Atlanta. And I'm not that bothered about giving away my first round pick for next year if I've got two defensive ends, because chances are, if they only walked away with one defensive end, they would have also needed to hit defensive end next year anyway. So I don't necessarily hate losing my first round pick there.
I do have a question though about another team, but if you had something else, go on with that. Because
I was just going to go through my two. I was just going to go for my two other big time winners for me. The Indianapolis Colts being able to sit there and come away with Tyler Warren, I think is big. For them, I think they would have. I think they would have probably taken Loveland, but only because Tyler Warren wasn't there. So I think Warren is more the classic tight end.
Oh, the guy who should have went at 4.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like I think he's a very classic tight end. I think Loveland makes a lot of sense for the Browns and what they need, but I think Tyler Warren is probably a better tight end overall. So the Colts being able to sit there, and weirdly, the Colts are only the quarterback short, but their actual roster is pretty good. Like if Daniel Jones beats out Anthony Richardson, which he should, this is the best situation that Daniel Jones has ever been in, right? With these good offensive line again, Jonathan Taylor looking good again at running back. Now Tyler Warren at tight end, Michael Pittman the possession receiver. I can't remember who their deep threat is now, but they Alec Pierce is the deep threat, and then whoever else they add throughout the draft. So the Indianapolis Colts being able to sit there and take Tyler Warren, I think, is very good. And then the Arizona Cardinals, I think, walking away with Nolan Walter, I think, is a good. That is right, isn't it? That is how you say his name. Walter Nolan, sorry, Nolan Walter. Walter Nolan, I think, is a really good pickup for them. I think what they've been doing throughout the draft, throughout the offseason for the Arizona Cardinals make a lot of sense to me. So Calais Campbell coming in, Delvin Tomlinson coming in, and then they've got Browning as well, left linebacker. They've come away with Josh Sweat from Philly as well. It makes a lot of sense to me that the Arizona Cardinals have now started to create a bit of a freaky defensive line. However, they probably could have done with some speed at wide receiver as well.
I don't know. You caught me so off guard with that. I did not see the Arizona Cardinals being in your top, because for me, they are literally in one of my worst picks of the fucking draft. They would be in my losers. So, yeah, but that's okay.
Walter Nolan.
That's okay.
I like Walter Nolan.
So much I have a problem with him. I have a problem with the pick in itself. I even think you went wrong position. I think you went wrong player. I think the whole process.
You want the speed wide receiver. You want the speed wide receiver for them, don't you? That's where you.
Well, that opens up everything. James Conner's been falling off. You help the running backs out by fucking bringing a speed receiver in. You help your pick last year in Marvin Harrison Jr. You help fucking your quarterback succeed more. I don't know. I just was like, what are you guys thinking? You could have opened up that whole offense by just bringing in a fucking lightning fast receiver.
Yeah, I just think the Cardinals pick again at 47.
But they're another guy who had a chance at the best receiver in the draft, and they were like, no, thank you. That's where it kills me.
I think they might come away with a Trey Harris from Ole Miss or Luther Burden III. And then that kind of resets the whole Jalen Knoll, who's obviously one of the faster wide receivers as well. I think that changes the whole look of their draft if they come away with one of those guys, whereas the defensive tackle now is just completely decimated. All the defensive tackles, all the decent defensive tackles are now gone. And I like Walter Nolan. I think he solves a decent amount of issues for them, because Calais Campbell isn't playing game after game after game.
No, but I think there's a lot of depth at later rounds too. But I'm do everything you can to help your offense. You can outscore people to win. Your defense isn't good enough to win for you, and that's another argument I have. But my question for you is, what were your thoughts? And I know you thought they were going somewhere else, but that doesn't mean you don't like it. What were your thoughts on Amarian Hampton to the Los Angeles Chargers? It felt like the most Jim Harbaugh pick in the world to me.
Yeah, at the time, I thought running back there, I feel like Hampton is closer to the other guys than he is to Ashton Genty. I
think that's where we look at it different, because I think he's the number one running back in the draft because of what he can do everywhere, and he will just put his shoulder down and knock you the fuck over.
Yeah, and I also think for market value, taking running backs in the first round of the draft is poor. So Ashton Genty is now already the 13th highest paid running back in the league. Like Genty is the 13th highest paid running back in the league because of where he's been picked. I think Amarian Hampton comes out at like the 20th. Hampton may be the 20th best running back in the league, so that's not terrible. But then having time to reflect on it and go, it's hardball. Yeah, that makes total sense.
And then it was Najee Harris, like with your starting running back, is also my argument. And then I had come to this conclusion. So I went back and forth on this running back thing. Do you take him in the first round or don't you? And I really beat up the Lions for taking Gibbs. And I really think I was wrong on that one the more I think about it. Because I'm like, if they're fucking elite, just go get them. My problem isn't Bijan Robinson being drafted that high. My problem is Atlanta picked him when they had a whole lot of other fucking needs they should have went at. Yeah. But Bijan Robinson is worth the first round pick. I think that Atlanta fucks him, and that's why I think he's better than what he produces because of Atlanta. I think that's a problem. But Gibbs and them, I think if you find just this elite running back, you just fucking go get them. Otherwise, you go find a really good dude later in the draft because you can plug and play later in the draft. But I do think there's a handful of guys or one or two guys every couple years that come around that are worth a first round pick. And I think both these guys were worth the first round pick. I just like the skill set that Hampton brings more. Also, I think it's great for the Chargers because, like, again, Najee Harris doesn't seem like you really want to try to, like, hit your wagon to the playoffs with them. And he'll be great for Herbert. And this is a young kid who can pick up the blitz. So you can keep him on the field for all three downs. And I think they're going to get another wide receiver to go with Ladd McConkey. So I like it. I like it. I wouldn't have been mad if they would have went somewhere else, but
they could have. Golden was taking a pick later.
Yeah, but it depends on so. Do you think your run game is more important than your passing game? Where to me, I think they rely on their run game more than a lot of teams, and so it was.
100%.
A need. The fit was better for what they want to do. I would not bet a mad though if they put Golden with Ladd McConkey to help out Justin Herbert. I wasn't even with the two good running backs the Vikings have. I seen Schrags had them taking Hampton. And I was like, it's not the worst idea in the world, even though we don't need a running back. That's how much I like him. But then I was kind of relieved that the Vikings didn't even have to make that decision.
Yeah, I mean, you do see with those 1-2 punches, like what Detroit have been able to do, where you can spell Montgomery with Gibbs, or you can have totally different, you can basically run both inside zone and outside zone equally as effectively whenever the fuck you want to, when you have Montgomery and you have Gibbs on the table. So I do get that. I do understand it. For me, the Chargers need a wide receiver because they'd already hit Najee Harris. So to me, the lineup sounds better as Justin Herbert with Najee Harris at running back, Ladd McConkey, Matthew Golden, and then Quentin Johnson or Mike Williams than it does with Justin Herbert, Najee Harris, and then Amarian Hampton's sat on the bench while you have Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, and you have Mike Williams, and then that's your wide receiver 3. That's how it feels to me. But how often is Amarian Hampton going to be on the bench? I'm not sure. If it was me, I'd start Amarian Hampton over Najee Harris.
I think even if he doesn't start right away, I think he'll be the guy who gets most of the load in a game because he catches out of the backfield. He's a lot faster than Najee Harris. He can plow people over. He can pick up the blitz. I think you can do a lot with him, right? So I think that he'll get in there. And I think he's a guy that could cut out in the middle of a play and line up at the slot and run those slot routes too. So I think that'll help. And if they add a receiver, I'm like, because I kind of feel like they were a Dobbs injury away from going farther last year, if that makes sense. Because they were just manhandling people on the ground, and then Ladd McConkey was coming up with all these great catches, and maybe they have faith that Justin Herbert's good enough to make average receivers better.
Yeah, and I mean, if you listen to their offensive line, so. I have a problem with Ashton Genty at the Raiders. I would say that was one of the Like, I wasn't massively happy for the Raiders to take Ashton Genty there because they have so many other holes. I'm not sure, like, their O-line in terms of they had the worst ground game in the NFL last year. Now, that could also be to do their best running back was Alexander Mattison last year. So no shade, but he's probably a second or third running back in a lot of good teams. But also he was getting hit in the back. Madison's biggest problem is when he gets met in the backfield, he makes 0 yards. Like, as soon as he's hit, he makes 0 yards. So the Raiders O-line were letting players get to him. Can Genty improve that? Yes. But it feels to me like the Saquon Barkley wouldn't have changed lives for the New York Giants last year, right? The New York Giants would have been just as shit with Saquon Barkley. But if you put Saquon Barkley into the Eagles, he makes them Super Bowl champions, obviously with their defensive line as well. But Saquon Barkley largely carried them there through his amazing, like, probably should have been MVP caliber, right? Amarian Hampton is going to have a much better season than Ashton Genty next year because this is the Chargers O-line. Rashawn Slater, Zion Johnson, Bradley Bozeman, Mekhi Becton, who they've just added, and Joe Alt. That is their O-line, and that's who Amarian Hampton's running behind. So adding Hampton into that makes more sense to me than adding Genty into the Raiders.
So I get your argument. Where I disagree, because it's the Raiders, is Pete Carroll based that whole dynasty in Seattle on running the ball and playing defense. And I think that's exactly what he's going to do here. And it is a lot easier to get bad linemen to run block good than it is pass block. And I think they will build as they go on that. And I think where I think Hampton would have been better for the situation, but I'm not mad at them because Genty is elite. And where I think Tom Brady was looking, because this is his first draft, being involved, and they're saying he had a big hand in the pick. His life was so much easier with James White in the backfield, and I am not saying that James White is Ashton Genty, but he was that quick, get out the backfield, dump it off to him. He can run up the middle. Like, James White should have been the MVP of that one Super Bowl. So we don't even pretend he shouldn't have been, because he should have been. I think Tom Brady was like, my life was so much easier with James White. And I think Pete Carroll's like, I am going to run the ball down people's fucking throats and play defense. And so that's where it makes sense for me for the Raiders with Pete Carroll. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. And I think the Raiders are in the spot, too. It's like, you do have holes, but I don't think they're as far away from being a decent team as they looked last year. And I think Geno Smith is going to make life a lot easier on them than Aiden O'Connell
did. Their quarterbacks made the quarterbacks made the NFL look a lot harder. And like, the NFL is really difficult, but Aiden O'Connell made it look even harder.
Because you just can't. You're like, we're going to put 9 in the box because this dude can't throw.
Yeah. So the other thing about Ashton Genty, I guess, is, like, people say, to discredit Ashton Genty, they say, look at the Penn State game. And it's like, well, Penn State just completely outmatched Boise State, like, in every position. Ashton Genty had 10 missed tackles in that game. So against a really great defensive line at Penn State, where the Boise State are just completely outmatched, Ashton Genty has 10 missed tackles in that game, still gets decent production without them even attempting to throw the ball. Now, at least he has Geno Smith behind him who can throw the ball, as well as, like, they'll have to go and get some wide receiver help. Jacoby Myers is currently their best wide receiver, who isn't terrible by any means, but they need to go get some wide receiver help the Raiders, which I think the wide receivers now, I wouldn't have taken a wide receiver at 6 for them, so I think the wide receiver room makes a lot of sense. Two, Jay, looking ahead to tonight, we have the 2nd and 3rd round. Who are your players to look out for? Obviously, Shedeur Sanders, but who else have you got to kind of look out for there?
Not even specific players. I think we're just to get out there. We're going to have a run again. on offensive linemen in the second round. I'm curious to see if we get running backs start popping off, because I don't like. I keep looking at these players and I'm like, they're so jumbled in grades. I'm not sure what's going to happen with individual players. I think we're just going to see a lot of run on linemen and probably running backs. And now I'm very curious. This is what I'm curious and want to see the most of. Do we see a run on quarterbacks in the second round? That's what I'm looking forward to. But I think the third round is where we're going to see some wild trades and a lot of fun and moving around, because there's a lot of teams with multiple third round picks. There's players that people probably had projected in their top 32 that are going to drop to the third round because it's so mismatched of boards. I think the third round is where we're going to see some wild shit. But what I'm looking forward to see right off the bat, do the Browns stick and pick, or do they trade back for even more picks? Do they want Shedeur Sanders? If Shedeur does not go there, where do we see Shedeur go? Like, this is the question. Like, where do we see Shedeur go then? Then does Shedeur end up being the fourth or fifth quarterback picked? Then what? Like, you know what I mean? Do people take Milroe because of his athletic ability? Do people take McCord because they see a guy who's super athletic and like can read defenses? Do they go with what the fuck is the other kid? I can't. Whatever. But does Shedeur end up being fourth? Yes. Does it end up being where it's a shit show and Shedeur ends up going third, fourth round, and we're all sitting back going, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, and I think whoever picks up Shedeur from now will be very happy. Like, if you have a higher QB grade on someone else, then fine. I'm okay with that. That's the way that you assess quarterbacks. I don't agree with you, but whoever takes Shedeur now should be happy with the value that they get Shedeur at. I understood the value problems of taking him in the top 10. I don't really get why Pittsburgh didn't take him at 20. That seemed like good value. But I do get the value now at the top of the second. I feel like you can walk away and say, we got Shedeur Sanders. We're all good, you know?
And like, I'm still wondering why the Eagles traded back up. But to give you one guy that I think will be a steal in the second round is Trey Amos, Mississippi corner. I think that'll be a steal. Yeah. To give you one guy, I kind of like hope he's one of these guys who drops. So
he'd be a great pick for the Vikings.
Right.
He will be
I don't think he'll be
the Vikings. There. Or Will Johnson as well. Obviously, Will Johnson's still there. Will Johnson is, by all intents and purposes, top 10 talent, injury problems and stuff like that. And if he falls to the Cowboys better run that fucking picket, like with Will Johnson there.
Do the Vikings have enough balls to just say, take our last 3 picks, let us move up in the second round, get our corner, and say bye for the draft? Like, I don't know. Is that guy worth giving up your 5th and 6th? Because it's a 5th and a 6th. Is he worth like just saying, fuck it, let's just get 2 guys out of this draft that we feel like will change life? I don't know. But it's exciting.
Because it's a 5th and a 6th. You're right, because it's only a 5th and a 6th. Like, what are you getting at 5th and 6th? Like, what are you getting? I think that this...
Because you give up your third also, but you consider that your second round pick, right? So you're only giving up the 5th and the 6th to get the guy you want, really. Would you do that? And Kawasi seems like, he seems like he's open to anything but trading back. Like, he does not see like he's open to trading back this year.
Well, for his first like couple of seasons, he just amassed picks. And now I think you've got your roster, right? Like, you've got the roster. You've actually got pretty decent. You've got pretty decent roster depth. So what's the point? Like,
if
once
JJ
you've got,
can
like,
play, they're contenders.
Yeah, exactly. So it's these teams that have 10, 11, 12 picks. It's like, what's the fucking point of having that many picks? You're going to have to cut half of them at the end anyway. Like, if you've already got a good team with loads of depth. So if I'm the Vikings, I don't necessarily hate that. And you've got free agency still to go. You've still got some cap to play with.
The Vikings have had more free or undrafted free agent starters that PFF have graded as starters than any team since Kwesi took over. And I wanted to put that out there because there's other teams who have more, but they were really shitty and just need to fill roster spots.
Yeah.
PFT or PFF and PFT both have rated them higher as starters than a lot of undrafted free agents. And then you can take Ivan Pace and look at it. And I know this is way back, but look at a CJ Ham or fuck. The safety we just fucking paid. Why am I blanking? Whatever. Fucking go. I can't believe Martellus or what whatever. I can't even think right now. But I mean the Vikings do good in undrafted free agents too if you need to plug some holes. So I'm just wondering, Kwesi's like, fuck it, let's just go get our corner and get the fuck up out of here. But they do need a D tackle too, because they have older guys and you want to get young, so they probably won't. But I'm excited because I think we're going to see a lot of fireworks here in the second and third round.
Yeah, and I think with the way that the draft is fallen and these players are graded, I think due to the lack of blue chip players now, everybody's boards are so completely different. So clearly the Eagles had Jahad Campbell. Clearly they had him much higher rated than everybody else, which is an awesome pick, but it sounds like Howie Roseman was trying to jump to 20 to go get him and ended up getting him at 31, which you've got to imagine that they knew that the Chiefs were going to take him.
Well, I thought maybe not the Chiefs because they would have stuck and pick, right? Because it's only a fifth they picked up for moving back one. So my thing is they were afraid somebody jumping them.
Someone jumping them to the Chiefs.
That was possibly my thought anyway.
Maybe the Chiefs maybe the Chiefs came to them and said, we've got a call from someone else. What can you offer? Because we'd rather keep our first round pick and take our guy.
Maybe the Browns were like, let's go stack up on defensive ends and just fuck people up on defense. Or maybe Tennessee was like, let's get back up in there because we got our quarterback and get it. Like, you never know. So it was really weird trade, but you think that I trust Howie Roseman, so I know there was a reason.
Yeah, it just sounds like Howie wanted him from like the 20th pick in the draft. And fucking classic Eagles, he manages to fall right into their hands at 31, which just classic Eagles, isn't it? But yeah, so good for them. They're probably one of the winners. I just couldn't bring myself to saying it.
Well, they probably are, but I couldn't give it to them just because, like, you already have such a deep defensive line. I don't think you changed life over there. And I was looking at teams like when I really beat at the drum for Atlanta, like I really think Atlanta did something here. I don't love that you gave up next year's first round draft pick, but whatever. Like because the Giants didn't give up shit. The Giants were like, we'll give you our second this year's third and the third next year. And they're like, okay. The Browns were who they traded with. But whoever they traded with, I forgot who they traded with now, but they're like, okay, we'll just fucking take that. And the Texans. And then I'm like, the Texans have to feel like assholes because they got nothing. And then all of a sudden a pick later, the Rams are like, yeah, we want your first round next year. And they got it. Like, you're like,
well, the Rams probably end up as one of the winners as well, because obviously last year they gave up those picks to move up and get Frisk. And now they have Frisk and they have all their picks back.
And are they amassing picks? Like, because you think about it, are you amassing picks so that you can go up and get an Arch Manning or somebody next year because Matt Stafford is getting old? Would that not be the most Sean McVay fucking, like, they went from fuck them picks, them picks to let's stockpile them and go get our next guy. That would be crazy to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. I could really see them in the market for like Jalen Milroe in the because now they have a pick. Now they have day two picks. Quinn Ewers, Quinn Ewers, probably day three for Quinn Ewers. Okay, before we go out, Jay, because I agree with you, I think the biggest talking points may be the running backs today, either in round 2 or round 3. Who's your number 1 running back left on the board?
Oh, I don't know.
Because obviously, I think the Cowboys have to leave today with a running back.
Okay, so I took some notes for guys who are left that I think are like going to be steals. And Benjamin Morris, Notre Dame. Corner is another steal I wanted to throw out there because I did take those notes. There's a lot of edge receivers. I think Higgins, receiver, is another guy but that's like more of a third round, fourth round pick. But
Zach Besh is my my wide receiver that I've fallen in love with.
It's funny. As much as I think there's a run on receivers, I don't really have a running back grade. This is just what I did. My top running back is at 52 right now. That's on the board. I think they'll go better, but it's Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee.
All right. Nice. So Trayvon Henderson, no. I'm a Judkins guy myself.
I think there's a lot of great ones, but I'm looking through because I've been taking these notes for like a week now, and then I've added them to my phone last night.
It's when does the hit? Because I agree with you. There's going to be a rush on running backs, and I wonder when it hits.
I had to look. I have him 52. Daniel Jeremiah has him 68. So we don't agree on Sampson at all.
Do the Cowboys activate the running back rush in round 2, or do they miss out because it hits later in round 2, or do they activate it in round 3? That's where the running back rush, I think, starts with the Cowboys in round 2 or round 3. And then I don't really know, but then they may miss out.
I can't believe, I wanted to say this before we get out of here. A guy I can't believe did not go in the first round was Darius Alexander, the D tackle. This dude's size, length, athleticism. I thought he was going to go at the last, in the end of the last round just because of his traits. Granted, he fucking played at Toledo and it wasn't the greatest competition, but I thought he was a guy on just pure athleticism was going to get picked up, and he hasn't. And whoever gets him a steal because he blows through the fucking line from a D tackle.
Yeah, if the Cowboys came away from today with him and a running back, I'll be happy. But we'll see.
Yeah, him and Micah Parsons together on a pass rush. Holy fuck. Because he's not the guy who's always going to get to the quarterback, but he is always going to disrupt the quarterback, and he's going to run him right into Micah. Yeah,
and him and Odigizua up the middle is just too freakish.
I forgot you guys paid him. I was assuming he was going to walk, so I even forgot that you paid him.
Yeah, so pass rusher, Odigizua, him, Micah Parsons, and then I don't know who's going to be playing D end. But if Overshone comes back as well, if Overshone's fit, like that pass rush will be nasty again. So we'll see what happens.
I like him.
Overshone is unbelievable. It's a shame he's been so injured.
I really like Overshone
to start with. Overshone and Micah Parsons. We looked a totally different team when Overshone and Micah Parsons were both on the pitch together. We were, okay, this defense works. It works again. It's all fine. Diggs can play cornerback again as long as Micah Parsons and Overshone are on the same pitch.
So, all right, everybody. What I want you to do is go over, though, yesterday on Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube, I dropped fan reactions, but none of them are duplicates. So the one on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, they're all different. So you got to go to every platform to see all of them because I'm an asshole like that. I'm going to make you go to every platform to see them. I got some great ones, and some of the really cool ones on Instagram were kids. And this was really cool to me, and I want to put this out there. So I'm walking by, and I'm just this raging ball of energy that people were just like laughing at, right? Because I'm walking up on people. I'd be interviewing somebody on who they want, and a kid would just walk up and get in line. Like I didn't have a line.
The Bengals kid was outstanding.
Right. That's where it started. Really that was the first.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Bengals kid was really good.
He knew a lot about football for being little too, right? Like
well, I think young kids tend to know quite a lot about like they tend to go crazy on like very specific things. So like some are trains, but some are football, like he went crazy. He went really deep dive.
So I really enjoyed that. I think I'll get less of the kids tonight because of where we're going, but tomorrow I think there'll be a lot of kids out where we'll be. We're about to leave in about 30 minutes to go out and start joining the festivities, which are real close. But the kids were enjoyable because they would walk up and get in line. So it was really cool to me to see like, oh, this kid is so excited to like, and the way the fans were like, I would like be like, I see a Broncos fan, and they just get excited and come over, and I was like, this is so much fun because I didn't want to be the guy who just walked up and threw a camera in your face. So if you watch the videos, I tried to be like, I see a Steelers fan, and then they would like see me and come over because you see these people who stick them in their face, and then only once did I have somebody the whole time go, no, thank you, and keep walking. And I was like, I guess everybody doesn't love me, you know?
Good for them, though.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
I think I'm going to go to the London games and hopefully the Madrid game as well, because Madrid is one of my favorite cities in Europe, and it's mine and Cynthia's. It's like it's a special place for me and Cynthia. So hopefully I can sway going there with her, and she doesn't link it too much to the NFL.
Does she watch the podcast?
She does watch the podcast as much as she can, but obviously she's asleep now because she's 2 hours ahead of even me.
Since she's sleeping, is that where Maddie's going to bust out the ring in Madrid and get on a knee? All right, you don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer that because no matter what you do, I just put you in a fuck situation. So don't answer.
I need my visa. Hey, man, like the UK's got itself in such a situation that the British are now marrying Eastern Europeans for green cards rather than Eastern Europeans marrying British people for green cards the other way around.
All right. Now, I should probably just cut that out before she sees that and been like, oh,
no,
the only reason this motherfucker should have married me.
But I'm gonna head down to some of the London games and the Madrid games. I'm gonna go with a massive sign and a QR code with like, scan this to see our show and everything, and like come and give us your take or whatever, and just stand there with like a mic and a camera. So if any of you guys are gonna go to any of those games, it'll be good to see you there. But I'm looking forward to that. I might try and go to Dublin as well. Oh my God, there's so many good away games this year. Not Berlin, though. Berlin's too scary.
I watched that wall go down as a kid. That's all I know. On TV, I watched the wall crumble. That was crazy. The whole climbing up it. And I know you've seen the videos, but I remember being young in front of the TV with my parents. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, I was real young too.
I've like been. It's like really interesting, like the wall and all of that stuff. And check.
I remember Putin taking over Russia too. That was a wild thing to watch on TV as it was unfolding. I remember the fall of Gorbachev and all of that stuff. Real wild to watch. I know you're a history buff. You got my mind just going the shit I lived through.
Yeah, and with Berlin, it's the Berlin's like a party capital of Europe, but it's like really it's not like chill party. It's like really intense, like rave culture and those kind of things. And it's quite it's just a massive, really gritty city, and it's great. It's a really cool city. It's awesome. It's just like I much prefer Munich. Munich's much more chill.
When you go to Germany and somebody's speaking German, do you almost feel like you're getting yelled at?
German's weird. So Germany's either like the most friendly language ever because it just sounds like gobbledygook. Gobbledygook, what a great word. Just sounds like total gibberish. Or it does sound extremely angry.
Yeah, it sounds like some of the shit they say sounds aggressive as shit.
Did you see that your German sorry guys, we're really like just vibing off on something else now. Just the last thing here. Did you see the German cheesehead? Because obviously you interviewed some German Packers fans, right? And then they were all over the coverage, this German cheesehead.
Actually, we were standing right next to them, but it was a weird, awkward situation because I wanted to talk to them, but I wasn't sure if they spoke English at all because they were speaking to each other in German, and I didn't know how to like break that little barrier do you speak English? Is that weird? I don't know.
Germans as a whole speak very, very good English.
Yeah, but the people I walked also up to spoke German. They're like, we came from Germany. I'm like, what, fucking serious? Okay.
Yeah. There's also a British cheesehead. There was a cheesehead with a massive Union Jack on it as well, who was on the coverage. just get everywhere, Jay. There's cheeseheads. They're just running around everywhere. It's what happens when you win loads of Super
Well, I
Bowls.
walked past some Vikings fans and we went, Skol. And this group of like 20 somethings look over at us and they're Packer fans and they go, where the fuck? And they're wearing cheeseheads. And I don't know if people know this, but those are originally Brewers, not Packers. Like the Brewers did that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So they stole it from the Brewers. So they're like, we're like, Skol. And they go, where the fuck do you think we are? And I'm like, the NFL draft, and the Brewers called and they want their fucking cheesehead back. And then everybody just bust out laughing and we kept moving.
I never get. I would never understand that. So in the UK, things like the NFL draft just wouldn't ever happen because our teams all hate each other far too much. But with like the vibe of the NFL, I don't understand causing like the time to cause shit. The only time to cause shit at the NFL draft is when their team is picking and you just boo it, right? That's the
205,000 people was the number last night, and I actually think there was more there than they're saying.
Yeah, maybe.
Because they weren't scanning like they were supposed to the app to get in, like motherfuckers were just walking in. So one drunk guy who thought he was slick mouthed and funny and he wasn't, and then a Packer fan and a Lions fan got into a fist fight, but the cops broke it up, pulled them to the side, had a conversation with both of them, and just let them go back in the festivities. They didn't arrest them. They didn't do anything like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. They killed only two things we saw the whole time with 205,000 people.
Yeah, fist fights are just not very NFL, I would say. I would say that's not very like the NFL is nice.
I'm not sure we should be fist fighting in the streets anymore anyway, because too many people use weapons.
Yeah, and it's just like the NFL to me, like, so when we go see NFL London and all of those kind of things, it's just a nice vibe. Like the reason like British sport chants don't work in the NFL is because they're a true family event, right?
Right.
Which football in the UK is also a true family event. It's just weird to see 7-year-old, 10-year-olds, whatever, like standing up shirtless, calling football players motherfuckers and all of that.
If you want to see it,
it's bad to see.
If you want to see it, it's LSU, and they go, "Oh, suck this tiger dick."
Yeah, like see, college football isn't for kids; it's for college students. That makes sense, right? Bring in British football chants to college football. That's the way to bring it in, I think. Whereas the NFL is like when the Eagles try and do, so it's a Millwall chant, right? It's a Millwall chant, but there's a few British clubs that do it, and I've heard Eagles fans doing it, and it's like, no one likes us, no one likes us, no one likes us, we don't care, right? But it's not sung. But the Eagles then do it in like, no one likes us, no one likes us, no one likes us, we don't care, we're the Eagle. And they like do it properly to the nursery rhyme, whereas like Millwall fans are like all drunk as shit, screaming it at the top of their lungs, vaguely around the nursery rhyme, but nowhere near it. So it just doesn't sound right. So guys, don't do British sport chants. It's too family friendly. It's a different culture, and it's all very nice, you know?
The little I know about footy, it does feel like the Eagles would be the Milrow of the NFL.
Millwall.
Yeah. And all I know is because I watch Green Street Hooligans, and then I talk to you, and then you're like, no, they're really that fucking hated.
Oh,
and
Millwall.
I looked them up one time, and there was like literally articles on like why they are the most disgusting human beings on the planet. Yeah. Like, and I don't really mean they're the most disgusting human beings on the planet, but like you get these articles and just hate them.
Yeah, Millwall are fucking crazy. Like largely hooliganism in the UK isn't a big deal anymore, but Millwall are real fuckers, you know. Like their hooliganism is so bad that obviously hooligans are immediately banned. So now a lot of the time their stadium is kind of like half empty because half of their fans are like banned from watching football.
I know it's not great for all of you, but if you really want to get Americans into it, not only do you let the hooligans back in, you air the fights after.
Yeah.
So like when Sunderland and fucking whoever meet up, and then they're
Newcastle.
And then they just throw down afterwards. If you aired those, we would be locked in, bro.
Yeah, so we're really on a tangent here, but so the Europeans have these ultras, like ultra groups, and it's about like doing big banners and fucking flares in the stand and jumping up and down. We don't have that culture because what we used to have was just like physical violence.
Yeah, you
And
call them
they
firms, but for Americans,
yeah,
they're like gangs, but they're not like
yeah,
shoot 'em up Bloods and Crips gangs.
yeah, it's just it's just you meet up and just beat the shit out of each other. Not anymore. Not since like the 80s. Not since like a bunch of Liverpool fans pushed a wall over onto a load of like in a European game they pushed a wall over onto a load of opposing fans. So British teams were banned from European football for 8 years and stuff like that. So we don't have it anymore because there's such strict laws against it. So now our ground is much more like a sterile environment because you can't take flares, you're not allowed to drink in the stands. So now European fans are like, oh, it's so boring. And it's like, no, we just have a laugh. Like, so the point now is to make up stupid songs that are just like idiotic because that's the only way that we can like do that because all the laws in football are just so ridiculous. Like, it's crazy.
Because I'm an asshole when Maddie told me that, I said the reason you guys all sing songs is because you're so fucking bored at a soccer game.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong. Ours is, I remember there was, so it does sometimes really affect players there. I remember one time I was watching Cardiff City against Newcastle United. John Joe Shelby, he looks like Voldemort from Harry Potter. And like every time he touched the ball, it was like, he's coming for you. He's coming for you. Harry Potter, he's coming for you. And like crumbled. Like just watch this guy just like crumble like throughout the whole game. But anyway, different story for a different
Let's finish how we started, Tom, together. Okay, that's sorry. I don't know why that line always sticks with me.
Those Cockney accents in that film are horrific, by the way. Not a single Cockney was cast in the making of this film.
All right. We're going to get out of here. I am going to get down to the draft festivities, but we will have more post-draft stuff to come in the future. I hope you guys all enjoyed the draft. I'm having a blast. And then we're going to find out next year's in Pittsburgh, but next week we find out where they're going to be the year after. Roger Goodell teased it's not going to be a Midwest city. That's all we know.
London. It'll be London. See you all in London for the draft.
I actually think that would be great. I think they should do a draft in the UK. And you know I am against, and I'm not against you guys getting games. I'm against how they set up the games, right? So I have a problem with, like, I think everybody has to play one or nobody should play one. That's my argument. But
yeah,
I think you guys getting the draft would be such an amazing event. And I think the European fans would appreciate it so much. And I think it would bring a completely different vibe we'd get to see. I would be excited to watch that. The only thing, it would be crazy time for you guys if they tried to time it out for us.
That'd be fine. Weirdly, it would be cheaper for a lot of you guys. Like just the way that the current dollar to the dollar ratio is and inflation over there compared to like wage inflation over there compared to wage inflation over here. It's like what we were talking about. Some Vikings fans, it is cheaper for them to fly to London to watch the London game than it is because tickets to those London games are only £80, which is about $90 or something like that, or maybe like $100 or whatever. But it is cheaper. It would genuinely be cheaper for some people to come over and watch the draft in London than it would be.
Yeah, it'd probably be cheaper for them to go there and watch the game than what they would spend flying to Las Vegas to watch a game because you're going to spend
exactly
a fuck ton of money in Vegas.
Yeah, or just the draft, like hotels in London cost like £40 a night or whatever. Like it'd be crazy.
Okay, so I got to tell you before we go, Easter, my wife's uncle looks up what rooms we're going for. There was very few left, right, for the draft. 3-night minimum, over $600 a night, and that was for shitty ass hotels.
Classic.
I did joke that Motel 6 had to kick out all the drug dealers and hookers for the weekend.
I guess with it being in Green Bay it's the only thing happening in Green Bay that week. Like that weekend. So I guess like whereas if it's in New York or if it's in New York's already ridiculously expensive. But if it was in London, for example, a million things happen in London every weekend. So
Right.
they don't jack up, like there are enough rooms for every single
Well,
event. It's
and
why after like
as greedy
London,
as you motherfuckers can be, your greed is nowhere near the capitalistic greed of what our businesses have too.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's so the thing with London is like London is so huge and like well set up for all of this kind of shit that they have after both world wars, for example, after any if there's any big world events or whatever, the Olympics is then held in the Olympics has then been held in London each time after that, or the World Cup or the Euros or Champions League, all of that kind of stuff is then held in, like if anybody's ever at a loose end, we end up taking on the big sporting event because we have all the infrastructure set up for it already. Like it doesn't really matter, like in London. So the draft I think would go really well over here. But anyway, draft day 2, baby.
All right, we're going to get up out of here, you guys. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Hit that like and subscribe, and I'll try to get you some more videos tonight, depending on the level of drunk over there.
I think the level of drunk, the higher the level of drunk, the more videos, right?
Depending if people are pissy and don't want to be videoed. You never know which way that's going to go.
That's true. Good luck, man.
All right, have a good night, everybody. Thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.